think a lot about language. I think part of the reason that I think a lot about it is because my wife is from Korea. So English is her second language, and English is really, for all intents and purposes, my only language. Although I do speak quite a few Korean phrases and words, and I can get by there. But anyway, I couldn't have a meaningful conversation with somebody in Korean. So anyway, so my wife used to work at this barber shop, and it's owned by a Vietnamese guy. So my wife, Korean, can only speak to this guy in English because he doesn't know Korean, she doesn't know Vietnamese, so they use English. And it's kind of wild to watch two English as second language people having a conversation in that second language together. But anyway, there's these dynamics at this particular barbershop. You got this guy that's Vietnamese, and then he's the owner, and you got two other Vietnamese guys there. And then my wife comes like this week because he needed some help. And so she decided to go back for the first time in over a year to cut hair this week. So she was there yesterday and today and whatever. So she was telling me some of these stories about how she just came and said to me, man, it would suck not being able to speak English here. And she's not just talking about the other guys at the shop, because two of them can barely have a conversation or barely understand some basic phrases, I think. How they're able to, and they're barbers, so somebody has to be able to come in there and tell them what they want. But my wife said it's not just these guys. You'll get these other guys that live here that are like Spanish speaking, that don't speak English at all, coming in to sit in a Vietnamese dude's chair that doesn't know how to speak English very well, and they have to get by. So anyway, one of the things though that drives me nuts about language, or I've seen this happen many times, the English speaker, the native English speaker, speaking to somebody else that is like English is their second language. What they'll do is they will use broken English, and it just drives me nuts. So, I mean, just to give a specific example for people that may not know what broken English is, if I was to say, "Are you going to go to the store?" That sounds different than, "Are you going to go to the store?" I might slow that, "Are you going to go to the store?" down to, "Are you going to go to the store?" But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to say, "You go store?" And just cut out, words. And if you ask someone that does this, it uses this broken English, "Why do you do that? Why do you speak that way?" Because I have done it. The answer is always the same. That's how they talk to me. It's like, I wonder why, I mean, I wonder how they'll ever learn if every English speaker that they ever came in contact with spoke to them the same way, the poor way that they're speaking now. It makes no sense at all to speak to someone that's a grown adult using a different language, or using a language that they're not, they don't speak natively. To speak back to them in broken English is it just makes you look like a fool. I mean, maybe people don't think of it, but I just think, why would you do that? Now, there was a guy that I knew. This is when I was stationed in Maryland. When I was still in the Army. He was my neighbor, and he had a Korean wife. And I talked to her one time. I said something, and she did not have a clue what I was saying. I was like, I was kind of set back, you know. And my wife and I had only been married for like eight years or so then. But I never spoke to her in broken English. Anyway, so this guy, my neighbor, he had kids that were older than my kids. My kids were just little. One of them just finished like kindergarten. Not even that old. I guess when we got there, yeah, one of them was gonna go into kindergarten. So his kids though were like, I think they were like 9 and 11 years old or whatever. And I was out doing some yard work, and this dude is speaking to his kids like this. And I'm like, why would you do that why would you speak like that to your own kids? Well, thankfully, it doesn't matter if he's going to use this broken English, because they're going to go to school and they're going to be speaking to other kids and they're going to be fine. But it's probably not the best way to get a good start that way. I don't think. I'm not an educator, so I don't know. But anyway, the other thing that drives me nuts about language, and this isn't so much about language, but it has to do with people that speak two different languages and how they treat each other. When I was in Korea, I wasn't even stationed there. It was just I was there on vacation. So this is after I had been to Korea twice, and so I went there. It had been a couple years since I had been there. But anyway, my sister-in-law had a husband, and we rarely spoke to each other because he knew zero English, and if I even tried to speak Korean to him, he wouldn't have a clue what I was saying, because I'm sure my accent is like thick. So usually we would go through, like I would say something to my wife and she would translate for me or whatever. That's basically how we talk. We didn't see each other that much, so it wasn't that big of a deal. However, there was one time where I was at my mother-in-law's house, and he lived there as well, but he was always at work. So they had these fluorescent bulbs in the main room that this house, and I was getting ready to replace one. This dude's just getting home from work, and he sees me trying to replace this fluorescent bulb. Like, it's a pretty simple task, and he grabs the thing from me and he says, no, 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 no. He knew how to say no, right? Me, and he's pointing at himself. Like, he did not want me to like replace this light bulb. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy just thinks because I look like a doofus to him. I don't speak any of his language, and so the things that I say, he pushed me down below his level. I mean, that's what he's done. And I see people in the States do that all the time. They push people down below their level because they don't speak the native language here. Anyway, I told my wife, I said, hey, could you tell this guy that I work on like multi-million-dollar helicopters, and I'm like an avionics guy. I work on electronic stuff. I think I know how to change a freaking light bulb. But she wouldn't do it. She was like, just let it go, or something like this. I'm like, it drove me nuts that this dude here thinks, look at this clown. So they got a divorce, so I don't have to deal with the dude anymore. But anyway, those are two of the things about language, or dealing with people that speak different languages. I thought there's got to be more people that think this way than just me. So what are your thoughts on language? I'm going to post this and see if I can get any feedback on YouTube. So anyway, I'll end this for now. Talk to you later.